Hey there, Theo Gibson here with the Electric Vehicle Podcast. So I'm at PHEV. I'm actually just parked outside the PHEV camping ground at the moment. I wonder if I can show you. There's the PHEV camping ground, very beautiful. There's Pahurakawa trees out in bloom. It's all very lovely. So I've been driving the MG ZS EV for a while now. I'm a bit sweaty, as you can see, because I tried a bit of a economy test with the car, and I wanted to see how far how range was impacted without having the aircon on, and I didn't see a huge difference, to be honest. The reason I'm looking at this car is because, as you all know, if you've listened to the Electric Vehicle Podcast before, I am an Outlander PHEV owner. I was an early adopter, like all things EV. I, built my EV in the early days, and then because of family requirements, and job requirements, I purchased a PHEV Outlander partly for the job I had at the time. And it's been a great car. I've loved it in lots of ways. But I host an electric vehicle podcast, and what am I going to say? At the end of the day, I probably should be driving an EV if I'm hosting an electric vehicle podcast. So I've done a few direct comparisons with the 2014 PHEV, and I just thought I'd kind of take you through them on my thoughts so far about driving to the beautiful PHEV. I'm about to drive home now, back to Huia, where I live. I wanted to try the car on the roads that I drive on most days, big windy roads, up, down hills, or all the rest of it, and see how it handled. And I've been pleasantly surprised. When I took off, it was about 80% charged, and I did a bit of driving, and then I charged up at a fast charger, just to 5% to test out how that all went. And to be honest, I don't know what all the fuss was about. People kept on complaining about the EV charging of this car, and I really didn't have a problem with it. I could pull out the rubber stops, and it was no problem. So the rubber stop was holding inside the charge connector. So charged up there, that was pretty easy, and then I headed on down to PHEV, where I am now. So let me just talk about the build quality first. I mean, this car is smaller than my PHEV, that's for sure. But in terms of materials, it's actually really similar to a PHEV. Well, at least the 2014 version. There's a few more luxury materials in the 15, 16, 17 and 18, which I've also driven. I've driven all those models. Like the plastics on the doors are really similar to the PHEV. Let me just show you, this kind of plastic and the leathery vinyl-y stuff. It's really similar to the PHEV. And the seats, they're kind of the newish leather, probably vegan something or pleather, or I haven't actually looked up what the details are around those. But it's really similar, very similar to a PHEV. In terms of driving, the big difference I noticed when driving this car was the handling. I thought the handling was great. The PHEV is a bigger car. It is a longer car. It's got more storage capacity in the boot. It's got more storage capacity in the boot. And what can I say? Sorry, I'm very hot because I might have to turn the air conditioning on. I'm just going to turn the air conditioning on, guys, because I'm going to die if I keep the air conditioning off, so excuse the sound. The build quality is really good. The storage capacity in the boot was more than I was originally expecting, so I was thinking it would probably come in at closer to a Nissan Leaf style boot, but it's actually quite deep, and it's got enough room, there for your charge cable and everything. it's pretty good for a family, you know, like maybe one kid, two kids. You could probably, it'd be a pretty good runabout. I think you would struggle going away on holiday in this car, but it does have roof racks from what I can see. Well, so you could put a cargo box on there and get a bit of stuff in there. So you might have to pack a little bit lighter than you normally do. I'm going to talk to MG when I take the car back tomorrow about just in terms of what the specs are around roof racks. But look, it's a really nice car. The air conditioning is manual. It's not auto like in the PHEV. To be honest, I've never been a huge fan of the auto AC in the PHEV, and I've actually turned that off most of the time in the car because I don't want to use up juice, what little juice I have in terms of electric power in the PHEV. The PHEV, the PHEV, how can I put this? Yeah, I've never quite agreed with the temperature that the PHEV thinks is 21 degrees or thinks is 24 degrees. And sometimes in winter it can be a bit slow to get the heater in. Summer it can be a bit slow to put the aircon in. I've always found it a little bit dullish in the old automatic AC system. So having a manual AC on the MG ZS EV is no problem with me. I think it's great. In terms of the head unit, look, cool features there. You know, I didn't really have any troubles navigating my way through the entertainment unit. It supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The navigation system, the model I have, I think it's a UK input, or maybe these are the models we're going to get here, but it doesn't seem to have New Zealand maps on it, so I couldn't really test that out. But it seemed very slow and a little bit clunky, which I'm used to. If you bought one of the earlier model PHEVs or you imported one, you'll be used to the old MMC head units, which were pretty poor in terms of quality. It took you forever to type in an address, and I hardly ever used the system. But you know, you've got and my old PHEV didn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which is why on my current Outlander I actually swapped out a 2018-2019 PHEV head unit and put it in my 2014. So that made a big difference. So I use Apple CarPlay all the time now, and I've been using Apple CarPlay on my trip today, and it's worked really well. So it's kind of like there in terms of entertainment features. The one nice feature I did notice is, I'm going to try this out when I get home. Apparently you can put a USB drive with some photos or a video or a movie and plug it into the head unit. So that could be quite handy when you're waiting for your son to finish, you know, soccer or gymnastics or whatever he does, you know, or your daughter. You can watch a movie on the head unit. Yeah, so cool little features there. What can I say about the handling? Yeah, handling, really liked it. Felt really secure on the road. I really like the regen, I've got to say, or they, as MG call it, the KERS setting. I always felt that the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV's regen was a little lacking. Even when you put it on the highest setting, it just wasn't quite right. I always felt that the regen, there needed to be where the regen was kind of set, there needed a setting in between 4 and 5, or a setting in between 3 and 2. You know, there was always just that missing little sweet spot in terms of regen. I thought I would drive along and have the regen on quite low in this car, but I found myself on these windy roads coming to Piha, keeping it on 3, which is the highest setting, and very rarely using the brake. I drove in the normal mode most of the way here, and that was pretty good. So it's got a eco mode, a sports mode, and eco mode, sports mode, and a normal mode. So I've been in the normal mode most of the time. Eco mode's pretty good for tootling around town in the city where I was there this morning, and sports mode is a lot of fun. I nearly went far too fast around a corner. Sorry, MG. Don't worry about that. It was totally fine. It was totally fine. But yeah, look, I'm really pleasantly surprised with this car. Lots of people have talked about the real world numbers about this car and what range you're likely to get. So I'm not the one to analyze that, and lots of people have done many more reviews around range and what they're getting. But I think for my personal daily commute, it will be totally fine. It seems to charge quite fast. I have a lot of room. Like, I'm a 6'3" guy, and I've got plenty of room in the front and the back. One thing I never quite liked about the Kona was that for a tall person, I sat in the back and my head was basically looking at the roof. You know, my head was, my view was obstructed when I was sitting in the back of the Kona. Not that I would have spent much time in it, but and considering the price difference between the Kona and this, it's quite incredible, really. I mean, this is what, 48,000 and something here in New Zealand at the moment, which I think is a really good deal. I recently drove a Nissan Leaf because thanks GVI, thanks guys. Because I'm trying to convince my beloved to get an electric car. She liked it, you know, and it was fun to drive. But I've got to say, I like this much more than the Nissan Leaf. It's nice having that crossover appeal, you know, being up higher. I can totally feel that I'm in a smaller car compared to the Outlander. I've always liked that about the Outlander. It's quite a big car. It's easy to park, and you can get a lot of stuff in it, and you can get stuff on the roof racks, and I could chuck a tow bar on the Outlander. I'm not sure whether we can do a tow bar on the MG. I haven't looked into that, but in saying all that, this is a very, very interesting prospect, this car, for a family car. I think lots of people are really going to love this car, and MG have been very smart about the way they have positioned this in the market. I could see myself, maybe, you know, it's kind of within my budget, possibly if I sell my Outlander, I might be able to upgrade to this car. So I'm tempted, guys. I'm really tempted. This may be the car to finally bring me back into the electric vehicle world. Time will tell, but yeah, I'm going to drive home now and play with some more features, and I'll let you know my thoughts when I get home. Okay, cheers, bye.